Alright guys, so today we're doing 14.2 graphing quadratic functions on the calculator. I know it's a little small to the side, but this will help me keep my calculator up here on the other side so that we can see it a little bit better. Because this is all calculator, guys. Everything we're about to do is straight calculator. All you have to do is follow the directions. So the first thing we're going to do, since we're doing this calculator stuff, is I need to make my window to where I can see my equation. So I'm going to hit zoom. I'm going to hit number 6. That's zoom standard. It gives us a viewing window from -10 to 10 on the X and the Y. Once I've got that set, I'm going to hit Y equals, and I'm going to enter in my equation. You have to do this carefully because if you're going to mess this up, this is the part where it's going to happen. I have 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. Now at this point, I want to make sure I'm not going to mess this part up, so I'm going to check and make sure I have exactly what I have on my paper. 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. So we're good there. I'm going to hit graph. So there's our parabola. We've seen several of these today. You should be able to look at it and tell where the vertex is. You should be able to see any intercepts it has. The first thing we need to talk about if we're going to find the vertex using our calculator is the vertex a maximum or is it a minimum? Well, if I look at my graph, I can't tell how high it goes, but I can see how low it goes. So that makes this one a minimum. And that's important. If you do that part wrong, the next part won't work either. So I'm going to come back over to my calculator. Now that I know it's a minimum, I'm going to hit second and calc, which is above the trace button. This is going to give me some options. We've seen this one before. Now, since our vertex is a minimum, we're going to push the minimum button, which is number 3. Now watch out, because if it's a maximum, you're going to be pushing a different button. So I'm going to hit 3, and it's going to take me back to my graph. It's going to ask me, though, if you look, it's going to ask me for what the left bound is. That just wants me to click on that cursor on the left side of my vertex. So it doesn't matter where it is on the left, just put it on the left of our vertex and hit enter. Now it's going to ask us for the right bound. So I'm going to use my cursor buttons and I'm going to shift it over here to the right and I'm going to hit enter again. It's going to ask me a guess. I don't want to guess, so I'm going to press enter again. Now it gives me my vertex. Now there's going to be a little bit of rounding going on. I would prefer to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place. So if my x value on my vertex is 0.75, I'm going to put 0.8. But if you put 0.75, that's not something I'll count off for. Our y value is 3.875. I'm going to round that to about 3.9. So guys, that's how you find a vertex. Now we could have still found it the way we found it on Friday. Remember the vertex, we could use the point -b over 2a to find x. We could plug that into the equation and find y. This is the exact same thing. We're just using the calculator. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next page. Now this is still talking about the same graph, but we're going to find a few more things about it. The first thing I want to do is I want to fill out the table. So the way you can do this, there's really 2 ways. You can hit second graph. That's a pretty easy way because now it shows me my x values and my y values. I can see that at -1, y is 10. At 0, it's 5. At 1, it's 4. And at 2, it's 7. But there is no 2.5 on this table, so that kind of presents us a little bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my graph. Oops, sorry. And now I'm going to go back into that second calculate. And you can pick number 1. This is actually pretty useful. So hit 1. And what it's going to do is it's going to let you find all these on this page. Like if I wanted 0, I'd hit 0, enter, and it gives me the 0.05. And that's what we had. That 5 doesn't look very good now that I look at it though. Now we can put in the 2.5. So 2.5, enter, and I find out that at 2.5, y is 10. So that's an easy way to do this. You know, the other way would have been plugging 2.5 in for x. There's room for error there. Let your calculator do it if at all possible. Now that we've found all the y values, we're going to look for x and y intercepts. Now, I can look at my graph and I can tell I have a y-intercept. My axis is y, the vertical axis, my graph is crossing it. Looks like it's crossing it about right there. Well, if you know that y-intercept means that its x is 0, then I can look up at my table and I can see that I have a 0.05. That is my y-intercept because x is 0. And if I look at that circle I just made, it looks like it's over 0 up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that makes sense. Let me erase that. But x-intercepts, this is where it crosses the x-axis. Here's the x-axis, guys. Does our graph ever cross the x-axis? It does not, so that means there are none, okay? Now, if it crossed the x-axis, of course, we could do something, but this one didn't. Let's see, my calculator turned off there. Even on the computer that has batteries. Now we're just going to sketch it using some of the points that we found. Let's see, I have a bunch of them. I've got over 0 up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's one of them. I know I have a vertex, and it's kind of a weird vertex. It was 0.75, 3.9. So a little less than going up 1, a little less than 4. There's my vertex. I'd like one on the other side of that too. How about 2.7, which would be about up here. And I'm just going to kind of sketch in my graph. Now, guys, these are sketches, okay? They don't have to be perfect, but you do need to plot the points as best you can. Obviously, if I'm trying to plot that vertex 0.75, 3.9, and you put it at like 2.6, that's not right. So be careful, but it's not got to be perfect. All right, let's go and do one more. So we're going to do everything that we just did, but all on one page, a little more compact. It says graph the quadratic function and its vertex and the y values for the given x values. Then sketch a graph. So I'm going to go back to y equals, and I'm going to clear out the equation. Don't just type in the new one, because sometimes it won't take up all the spaces and you'll mess up. I have negative 3x squared, so I'm going to use the negative button, 3x squared minus x plus 7. And I'm going to double check so don't mess up. All right, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at the graph real quick. Okay. Let's go ahead and find the vertex. Now, to find the vertex, we have to know if it has a maximum or a minimum. Well, I can't tell how low down it goes, but I can see how high up it goes. So it has a maximum. So that's going to change what we use in our calculator. So let's go back into second trace, which is the calculate. This time I don't want to use 3. I want to use 4 for the maximum. But now it's exactly the same. I'm going to go to the left of my vertex. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to move to the right of my vertex. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to hit enter one more time. And I have a vertex. It looks like negative 1.666. So how about my vertex would be negative 0.2, comma. My y is 7.08. So how about 7.1? So there's your vertex. Now, x and y intercepts. Let's leave those for a minute. Let's go ahead and fill out our table. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit second graph. There's my table. And I can get most of the values from there. Like negative 2 is negative 3. Negative 1 is 5. 0 is 7. And 1 is 3. But then I'm back to that pesky 1.5. I'm going to go back to my graph. I'm going to hit second trace again, and I'm going to hit value, which is 1. Now I can type my number in, 1.5. Oops, don't put in the wrong one. 1.5. Did it twice. There we go. I'm going to hit enter, and I get 1.5 is negative 1.25. So now I just need to sketch it, find my x and y intercepts. The y-intercepts, remember that's where x equals 0. Well, I have one of those right there, so my y-intercept is at 0, 7. Now, if I look at my graph, I can see it has 2 x-intercepts. Tomorrow, we're going to learn how to find those exactly, but today we're just going to estimate. So if I look at the first one, let me erase that so we can see. It looks like it's a little less than negative 2. So I'm going to say it's negative 1.9, comma 0. The other one is a little over 1, so I'm going to say that's 1.10. Remember, x-intercept is where y equals 0. Now I have plenty of information here. I can go ahead and sketch everything. Let's see, my vertex is at a little over on the negative side, up a little over 7. So maybe about right here. My calculator went off again. Let me see if I can get there. There we go. Now I'm going to plot just a couple more points. I know up 0, 7 was one of mine, and one on the other side, negative 2, 3. about right here, so I can sketch in my graph. Now again, we know it should go a little below 2, but we're sketching here. It does not have to be perfect. So guys, that's all there is to it. You have to use your calculator, so make sure if you need to, come in and use one. Other than that, it's a pretty easy lesson. So if you have any more questions, just let me know.